All right, I think I'm up and running. I know there's a little bit of a time delay on the stream catching up, but it looks like we're good to go. So I am going to drop my volume down to 0 here so I can keep that noise out of the way. And we will, let's see, push this up like that. Perfect. Hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish them online. I've been focusing my attention on Spelljammer, the new supplement that we created, Spelljammer Combat Exploration. It's now live on the DMsGuild. There is a link to it down below here. Yeah, there you go. And basically, it's a deep dive into combat and exploration in Spelljammer, using ships as though when you're piloting the helm, whether you're a spellcaster or another type of character, you don't have to be a caster to use it. But when you do, your essence gets infused into the ship, and you basically operate as though it's an animated construct, basically. So the idea there is that it's like a massive size wild shaping that you take on some stats of your ship, and otherwise can use your action economy like normal to operate the ship in melee combat, to make movements as though you have flight and hover capability, because it's a Spelljammer ship, and that's the basic rules that they provided about being able to spin on a dime to reorient weapons at will, to be able to switch your deck around so that you can target in any direction at once. And that's just basically hovering mechanics for flight. So that means that just normal D&D movement works. Just this document goes into higher scales of movement, like 500-foot scale, 50-foot scale for fighter craft and small vessels like these, and then you got bigger vessels. These are 50-foot squares. It's like a Night Spider is a 200-foot ship. A Squid ship is 250-foot ship. But the fighter craft level, we've got like Neogi Spiderlings are 40 feet. Illithid cuttlefish are 20 feet. Like, it's the size of a gargantuan dragon. But it's we have the illustration here. There you go. It's not my best illustration, but it gives you a sense of scale as to how big these things are. And there's basically a Illithid hiding out inside of them. These are like baby versions of the Illithid Nautiloid, and the Nautiloid is 200 feet in size. So these things continue to grow, but the Spiderling and the Scorpion and the Wasp and the Night Spider, these are all just basically giant constructs that the spelljamming pilot basically infuses their life force to maneuver. So if we extrapolate that idea and take it to the absurd, what we're going to be able to do is, well, first off, we have Vokath's Crab, which is a 500-foot scale construct ship that has giant pincers and giant stabby legs, and it's got a slew of weapons on its underbelly, like turrets and stuff. Bob. That's what the base looks like on its own. Here's the side shot of how it looks like as a crab. So I mean, it looks kind of like a lobster crab sort of thing. And so this is at the absurd scale. The maximum size ship that you can have with the spelljamming helm is, with these mechanics, these rules, is 500 feet. And so the smallest size that you can have for a fighter craft using a minor helm is 10 feet. The smallest one we present here is the Goblin Arrow, which is a 15-foot space. It's got a harpoon flinger on the front. It's got slashing. It's got a slashing ram in the form of sail blades, cutting sails and stuff like that. Here's the helm that you sit in, 5-foot space, 15-foot craft. So we can take the idea of small-scale craft and the idea of constructs, and we can then blend them together and start working at, instead of this 500-foot scale or 50-foot scale for a craft, we can work at the smaller scale for, say, Warforged, for instance, fit inside of a 5-foot square, right? And so if you are a medium-sized Warforged, there's also autognomes in Spelljammer, which are small size. They're basically small-sized Warforged, essentially. And so something that I enjoy, and I think I've seen articles from Keith that reflect this, is that these things have a soul, and the soul is stored inside of basically a soul gem, or also known as a docent. So a docent is a piece of whether your campaign has them as actual like animal or elemental or like spirits that then possess this Warforged frame and learn to become a real boy, or in my campaign, it's been the souls of dead Kenneth Warlocks are trapped and placed into the souls of Warforged. So it's normal people that are inside that are inside these little knowledge balls that then get plugged into a Warforged machine. So the soul of the Warforged, or the soul of the Autognome, is inside its soul gem, which can be extracted. And then Keith has had back when I was doing Cypher System, like back in 2014, 15, something like that. We were playing Edron and Cypher, and we were treating the little docents as AI machines that you could plug into different tech to operate with sentience, and that idea is what helped shape the narrative for the Spelljammer helm control. And now we're just taking the helm and we're basically making it a coupling that a docent can plug into, so that any Warforged that doesn't have its body or gives up its body can be placed into a spelljamming ship of basically any size and operate it as though it's just its normal Warforged body at a different scale. So that leans into the fightercraft mechanics that we have already inside the book here. We can scale it up literally to any size. So here's how we scale damage. This is a little different from what we have in the Spelljammer book here, because these ships aren't they're primarily vessels that have basically like types of rams on them. But what we're building here is larger framed Warforged that are perfectly articulate, wield weapons as you need, and can engage in normal melee combat. So we're going to be having them engaging in combat at the 5-foot, 50-foot, and 500-foot scale in a Spelljammer setting, or with like airships. Like maybe you limit your airships in Eberron to being able to traverse 1,000 miles in a day, which is basically 50 miles per hour. Then that would basically be a spelljamming helm that is 1/1,000th of the speed that it could actually achieve. And so that's actually really slow for Spelljammer, but all the same Spelljammer mechanics can be used with airships at this much lower speed. In the Eberron Reddit today, someone was asking about a fire genasi. Could they imbue an airship? Well, if you're using elements as a source of energy, then you could have a spelljamming helm that feeds off of elemental power. So the helm of the ship is where the elemental is seated, and then you are basically commanding. The ring is what commands as like a suggestion or a gesh or a command monster spell would be Charm Monster. Thank you. Would basically the ring would be basically casting that magic to make the elemental on the helm subservient, and any creature can pilot spelljamming helms in this supplement. So that's kosher, and then you could just limit it to elements or house. What is damn it, I can't remember the house that the Dragon Mark house for the airship pilots. But if you have one of those tattoos or one of those birthmarks, as it were, or you're an elemental or you are a genasi, then you'd be able to power these elemental spelljamming, these elemental helms. And we can take that same idea and then have basically like the Atlantis cartoon, kind of lean airships and Warforged tech in that direction, which is a really great meeting of like maximum speed. Because in the Descent into Avernus campaign that we ran, we used these mechanics for land vehicles with a maximum speed of 50 miles per hour or 1,000 miles per day. So, which translates into 500 feet of movement per round, or at the 50-foot scale, it's 10 squares. So we have all that math inside of the document here. If you want to check this thing out, it's on the DMsGuild. There's a coupon that makes it 25% off. So you can check out that stuff right here if you want to see it. Yeah, here it is, and here's your discount coupon, but it comes with over 100 different tokens, like all the ship tokens, asteroid stuff, planet tracking maps, planet planet tokens and stuff. But you can check out the full document here. It's 107 pages. Check it out. If you think it's cool, buy it, and thanks. But now that we're looking at a space that goes from autonomes being size small, occupying a 5-foot space, up to Vokath's battle station being 500 feet. That's basically the gamut in which you can have a minor helm can operate a vessel or a craft up to 50 feet in size, including golems and warforged of massive sizes. And then a major helm is needed for up to 500-foot scale, for like an actual warforged war titan, for instance, is like 500 feet tall. So we're going to quickly flesh out the mechanics for how combat and stuff on this works. Armor class, we're just going to be using the basic mechanics from the book here for armor class. And armor class, depending on what the material is made out of, it's either going to be heavy or composite material. I'd say a Warforged is technically composite material. Light materials like bone, ceramic, and wood. Heavy material is crystal, metal, and stone. And I think composite material is like a mix between the two. Or it could be like chitin, for instance, could be like light metal. That's like ceramic and bone. So you can have different types of like spirit warriors, for instance, are made out of chitin and bone. So you could do that. The Illithid ships are made out of bone and chitin. The composite materials like the Theurgy use metal exclusively. So, and I'd say Warforged would be inside the composite material area. So they'd have a base armor class of 15 plus either Dex or Intelligence. So but that's just some general guidelines for like the armor class. And then as a vessel, you'd have damage reduction as a composite material of 5. So every time you get hit for damage, you reduce the damage by 5. And the size of the ship, or in this case, the size of the forge that we're building, for each 5-foot space that it occupies, it has 10 hit points. Otherwise, you add this to the hit points of the pilot. So you can, like a large size Warforged, if you're a second level character, like maybe with like 17 hit points, being in a large size Warforged frame, you'd have an extra 20 hit points. So instead of 17, you'd have 37. You can take damage for the Warforged as much as you want, and every time you take damage, you can choose for the craft to take the ship to take damage, in which case you'll have to cast a ritual mending spell or have access to fabricate or wish, something expensive or slow to repair your craft. So you generally want to protect its low amount of hit points unless you need the craft to take damage for you. And then say you're 17 hit point second level fighter type, maybe a barbarian or something, has 17 hit points, and then if you take 10 damage, then you'd reduce the damage by 5, and then you take 5, so you'd have 12. You'd have 12 hit points left. Your cleric could then slap you to heal, 5 points of damage, and you're back up to full. So in a normal ship, you'd have on your bridge, you'd have the melee, like the barbarian, the paladin, the fighter or maybe a rogue on the helm, piloting the ship if you're conducting melee combat. And then as a co-pilot support character, you could have a cleric, a druid, or you could have two paladins working in tandem together as pilot and co-pilot, sharing lay on hands, or bonding warding bond could be cast to have the damage that you take damage for the ship, and then your damage gets halved, and the cleric takes some of the damage, and then they use Aura Vitality and heal everybody each round. Or the spirit, the Twilight Cleric with its ridiculous amount of hit points now makes sense. It's on the deck with the pilot. It's giving you maybe 15 some odd temporary hit points per round. That's going to get eaten up by weapon damage coming into your ship. Twilight Cleric in wild space kind of makes a lot of sense. So there's a lot of ways to mitigate the damage, and it's something that you can scale into. Like, just because your characters are running like second level and running around in a 10-foot Warforged doesn't mean you have to be fighting ogres. You can still be fighting orcs, or you could have like downs, like weakened orcs, like ogres, like CR1 ogres if you wanted. You just build them on, like use some of Mike Shea's Sly Flourish's stuff to just whip up some creatures on the fly. Yeah, so, and then the damage would eventually be at the 50 foot by 50 feet. It would be 100 extra hit points that you get. And then you would graduate up to, from the 5-foot scale to the 50-foot scale. So a 10 by 10 space at the 5-foot scale is is 50 feet. That's just 1 square at the 500 foot, at the 50-foot scale. So it's the same scale. It's just different. Hey, Nitro, it's good to see you, my guy. So yeah, like I've been saying, the docent is what holds the soul of Warforged and auto gnomes. So you can just extract the soul stone, or docents, they call them docents in Eberron, and just drop it into your piece of mecha, and now you've got a Warforged frame that doesn't require any crew space or anything, because it's just a tiny sized object that's infusing its soul into the Spelljammer helm, which could be condensed into a small unit. And then you just have a mobile frame that you just click into, just plug into the power node, any piece of war mech that's laying around. So the damage is super simple. Scaling damage is really easy with mecha like this. So we already know. So here's the basic rules for how damage works in D&D. If you're a monster, right? If you're medium size, you're going to be doing, like, say you're using a sword, you're doing D8 damage. If you occupy a large space, you're supposed to add a die. So now you're doing 2d8. Guess how much damage you do at size huge? Well, according to the book, it's 3d8. And then at 4 times the 4x4 space gargantuan size, the book tells us it should be 48 damage, because you're adding a damage die. So whatever type of weapon you're using, if it's a dagger, if it's a sword, if it's a two-handed glaive, it's like a d10. If it's a two-handed sword, now your mech is going to have to use both hands. It's a d12. There you go. And then as you add up the dice, you just keep stacking. And once you get to, if you don't have any weapons, the bear punch, the slam attack that these have is just a d4. So there's your scale. It goes from 1 to 10. And once you get to 10 and you're dealing with the 50-foot scale, we already know this is D8 times 10. Anyone that's checked out my Spelljammer book knows how the damage progresses here. If you're a 100-foot ship, it's 2d8 times 10. Just depends on the size of the weapon. So here's the thing. The size of the weapon has to match the size of your vehicle. So if you want to do 2d8 times 10 damage with a mecha sword, then that mecha sword is going to have to be built to the 100-foot specification. If your mecha sword is smaller than this, then you'll just default back to your punch. But instead of dealing bludgeoning damage, because you've got this bladed weapon in your hand, it now becomes slashing damage instead of bludgeoning damage. So if the weapon you're holding will do more damage than your blunt attack, your slam attack, then you use the damage of the weapon. If the slam attack would do more, you could choose to do the damage type based on either your slam attack or the weapon that you're holding. If it's different, either like a lance could become a punch dagger, for instance. So you can have different scale weapons. Like if you have a magical effect on this, right, that catches things on fire when you punch with it, like a flaming punch dagger or a flaming lance, as it may have been. Then when you hit with it, maybe there's a chance of catching your target on fire. So burning the mecha down. So that's the basic mechanics on damage. Otherwise, you can just use whatever weapons you're proficient with. When you infuse your soul into the piece of machinery, just pick up a weapon that you're proficient with of the appropriate size machine that you're carrying, and then sally forth. This would allow you to have oversized weapons. If you're using an oversized weapon, we have the reload mechanic for siege weapons in the book here. Here, let's go find that real quick, just for reference. Table of contents, and then ship rules, ship combat, range, ship weapons. Here we go. So weapons have reload scores, and we have the command die. We in this mechanic we use a command die instead of your proficiency bonus when you're making attacks with siege weapons. So if I am first level, I roll a D4 instead of getting a +2. At 9th level, I have a D8 instead of a +4. And so when I'm attacking with a siege weapon, I have a reload score, and the reload score is built off of the die that you roll. A ballista does D4 times 10 piercing damage and has a reload score of 3. A mangonel does a D6 times 10 bludgeoning damage and has a reload score of 5. So the reload score is scaling off of the damage that you're doing. So if and then like a harpoon flinger from Descent into Avernus does 2d8 damage, no multiplier, but it's a mounted weapon that, according to Descent into Avernus, you can fire as many times as you have attacks during an attack action. It's basically just like a giant crossbow. So its reload score is 1. When you roll a proficiency die, you're automatically going to roll a 1 or better when you're rolling an attack roll. So you're guaranteed to hit. So basically, however many attacks you have per round, that's how many attacks you're going to have with a harpoon flinger. Or anytime you can drive the reload score down to 0, to 1 or less. So what we want to do is look at, we can do, anytime you use a weapon that's larger than you, you would be able to say up to twice your size. So whatever its reach would be. So if I have a 10-foot reach on my own, I could choose a weapon that would have twice that, which means I could have a weapon up to 48 times 10. And now I'm thinking since I'm using 4 dice, it would have a reload score of 3. So at first level, I'd be able to have a large-sized mecha with a giant mecha glaive that is going to do 48 times 10 damage. And on my D4, if I roll a 3 or better, I can attack again with it. And when you fail your reload score, you have to spend either a reaction or an extra attack to reset the weapon, to reload it so it's ready to go again. With this, that would be framed as in the weapon is too large for you, so you're overextending yourself with your attack. You may hit with it, but you're off balance. So then you have to spend your reaction or an action to reset yourself to be able to attack again. I also use these mechanics in the mass combat system. So as we scale into larger scale weapons, here's how this would break down. At the anything up to 25 feet. Yeah, up to anything with 25 feet would be doing 5d8, say d12. So let's scoot this over. Anything of this scale would have a reload score of 1. Anything larger than this, up to 50 feet in size, has a reload score of 2. And then once we get into the 50-foot scale, this would have a reload score of 3. This would have a reload score. It works in it would work in 1, 2, up to 2, and then this would be. I'm thinking it through. Hold on. This would have a reload score of 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, I think we can just use the basic reload mechanics of. Let's go look at our document real quick. Let's go look at squadron combat. I think we could probably pilfer rules from squadron combat to figure out what our reload score should be. It's the number of 50-foot squares that are occupied that increases your reload score. Oh, wait. Let's check the other ones here. Yeah, reload score is measured by the number of squares occupied. So that makes sense. Well, kind of. We have a reload score of 1 automatically. It would be... We're proposing a reload score of 2 for melee weapons at the 50-foot scale. Nope, I think we should just leave it 1. Oh, yeah. That'll work. Anything that's up to 50 feet in size, we just have a reload score of 1. Okay, this all meshes. That's easy. And then it'll go all the way up to a reload score of 10 here at the 500-foot scale. So a 500-foot Titan. Rawr. There, that would have a reload score of 10. So anytime you attack with it, you're almost assuredly, unless you are really lucky at 13th level or fairly lucky at 17th level, every time you attack with this, you'll have to spend a reaction or an attack to reload to reset your attack. If you are using a weapon that's oversized, that would say you'd attack with disadvantage, which means you'd have to re-roll your dice, your command die twice and reduce it. I'm also thinking if the weapon is too large, it would increase the reload score by 1, which doesn't sound like a lot, but coupled with the disadvantage is probably... I want to test that. I'm going to have to spend some time next month, I think, testing that. So we'll have to build out some mecha and put a test together. But yeah, I mean, that's the basic. It's really simple. It's very, very basic. We already have almost all the rules already cooked into here. It's now just a matter of translating it and adding a little bit of fluff around it for flavor. Not fluff, flavor and crunch. We want the crunchiness of the mechanics, which you already have in the book. We're just basically going to be reiterating these and dropping them into another document with more size stuff. And then I guess it's just a matter of setting your pace of speed. So if we're looking at Infernal War Machines on the ground or Eberron airships in atmosphere, it would be 1,000 miles per day or 50 miles per hour. And we already have the damage scaling there. And then it's just weapons and art, really, and stats. Pretty simple. So not much to it. But there would have... So that'd be docents. Warforged could automatically build into these things, but you could also have... You'd have to have like you could have like Escaflowne style. You could have room for a pilot to sit inside of the larger frame. So then it's just a matter of building them and having them available, like spirit warriors are undead bugs that are animated to become living ships, basically, which is a pretty cool idea. It's weird that elves would do that, but it's all in kind of like this insect. Chrysalis sort of vibe, so it jives with the Star Moth monarch motif, flitter ships and the little flitters that they have. It kind of jives with that motif. But you could have just a spell jamming helm chair here inside the chest of this thing, or higher up if you wanted to. And that's where your pilot hangs out. And now you've got a 20 by there you go. Yeah, it's a 20 by 20 construct. It would basically have the same stats as the cuttlefish has. Drop. Yeah, cuttlefish. It fits inside of a 20 foot by 20 foot area as well. So cuttlefish. It's a horrible illustration. They can't all be natural 20s. But yeah, that's the basic idea. So I guess from here, it'd be shits, giggles, and illustrations, right? Let's grab all this. I'm going to call this Warforged and Machines. If they can't fly, if they're just ground units, then the helm would cost 200 gold. If they can fly, then it'd be 500. If they're like a full helm that can do up to 500 feet, it'd be 5,000 gold. Or if they're ground only, it'd be 2,500. So the gold cost isn't very much. We have the cost matrix based on the materials, and you could have exotic materials, ships made out of like ceramic or bone or wood for the light material. Cost. There you go. So for craft, at the up to 50 foot in size, made out of pure metal, it would basically be 2,000 gold to build the frame, and then another 250 if it's a ground unit, or another 500 feet if it's an air unit, or if you wanted to strap in, a full spelljamming helm. That was weird. If you want to strap in a full spelljamming helm so it could fly 100 million miles per day and have a longer oxygen supply, then it'd be 5,000 gold to be able to fly. So pretty cheap to build, but they're also really fragile. So you have to use your pilot's hit points to soak damage on the smaller ones. So they have to be cheap to build, so they're easily replaced. Fabricate, I believe, is capable of building a craft like that. So we also have the amplified create ship spell that we have in the book as well. But I'm just going to doodle a little bit here, and then I'll probably get back into working on Vocast's Battle Crab. But I wanted to make this my kickoff episode of building this, because there's really, other than artwork, there's not a lot that needs to be done with it to be a legitimate product. So I was kind of thinking about that the other day. It's like there's not a lot of additional information I need to provide to make this thing jive. Just the weapon damage systems needs to curve a little bit better, and just build out some shit, I guess. So but I love 5e. I love 5e mechanics. If you've checked out my my Martial Powers design stream, it has a mana resource system that could be easily folded into a mana battery on mecha. That each one of these things has X amount of mana built into it, and then just use the Martial Powers mechanics to add a cost for, like, if you want to do like if you wanted to shield damage from allies that are in the area, then you'd be able to use your reaction and spend a point to block the damage and soak up, take take all of it or half of it or whatever for them, however much you wanted to take. Like that's a power you'd be able to use. What's a Thundering Strike is a fun one I like to reference a lot, which is when you hit, you spend mana. For every point of mana you spend, you deal an extra, basically an extra weapon die of damage. And you deal in this system using this. It would be roll a command die. So if your first level would only be a D4, if your 9th level would be a D8. Roll 1 power die per mana channeled into the attack, and push the target 2 squares for every point of mana. Or at the 5-foot scale, it'd be 10 feet, but at the 50-foot scale, it'd be 100 feet. So if I put 2 mana into it on 9th level, I'm going to do an extra 2d8 damage, and then you know what? I'd have to think about that, actually. That damage doesn't seem very impressive. I feel like I don't want to make it complex, like the mana scales up with like some sort of weird numerology along with the size of the ship, so I want to make it kind of intuitive. But I hadn't really thought about that. How would the damage scale on that? Well, you know what? Honestly, thinking. You wouldn't necessarily be doubling the... I mean, if you're only rolling D8, like in the normal system, if you're 9th level, you'd be rolling an extra D8 for every point of mana that you spent on a weapon that might be, like, say, doing D8 damage. So in that instance, you're tempted to say, we're going to just damage... we're just going to double the damage that you deal. But you would also only be doing an extra D8 if you're wielding a weapon that does D12 damage. So if you doubled that, you're getting more out of. You're getting more damage economy. Because of the weapon that you're using, it would scale up a lot faster. I'm not sure if I like that. That sure would be easy. Well, the power system, yeah, I've not been in favor of multiplying damage in upscaling systems so much. But powers are different because they stay within a pretty tight curve of dice. So what would be the proper answer? I'm sussing this. Can you tell I'm sussing this through in real time? Cheers. And the max amount of mana you can channel is 5. But if it's coupled to the machine instead of your level, well, I guess it would. Okay, so maybe. Maybe I already have an answer. Give me a second. I think I'm thinking. Okay. Let's go back to the table of contents. Let's go back to ranged ship weapons. The answer is Eldritch Cannons. That's the answer. If you're going to spend mana on an attack, here's your level, which is your effective rank. This is the amount of extra damage it would do with 1 point. And if you spend 2 points, this is the amount of extra damage. This is the amount of damage that it would do. So, yeah, I think I'm cool with that. This could be 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet. If you're going to scale it by the size of the machine. And then this would be at the 500, at the 50-foot scale, this would be 100 feet, up to 100 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet, 400 feet, 500 feet. You could do it like that as bonus damage. And then if you're working at the 500-foot scale, 500 feet, 1,000 feet, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, times 100 damage apiece. And 5,000, of course, is 1 mile. So that could work. That could work. But that would be like 4 mana. And like it'd probably have like a mana battery of like 10. And the amount of extra damage that would do with power is going to be based off of the level of your character, the level of the pilot, whether their level or their CR. their CR sets the what rank they are. Here, I'll show you real quick. Thank you. Here you go. Your CR determines the rank that your character is. So a 14 plus CR creature is effectively 5th rank, which means that they'd be able to roll a d12, or if they're channeling an empowered strike, it'd be d12 times 10. So that's the idea that goes on there. I like that. That works. So, okay, great. We just solved that problem. And then, like, so if you spent 3 mana, it'd do 2, 4, 1, 2, 3. Hold on. It'd do 68 damage. And if I spent an extra 2 points, it would do d8 times 10 damage. I'm pretty cool with that. But we won't have to worry about that until Martial Powers is actually published. And then we'll be able to build crossovers. Let's do something like... Something like that. There we go. Too big. So for a person to be able to fit inside of something like this, one, two, three, four. Okay. That fits inside of a 5-foot space. There you go. So this is a gargantuan size. So this would be a 20-foot by 20-foot ship. So this would be a stack on extra 40 hit points. That axe would be doing it'd be a versatile weapon. So with the shield configuration, it's going to have a general armor class. It looks like a metal frame, so it's going to have just a base armor class of 18. And the versatile weapon, so it's probably a D8 or a D10 if double-handed. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to do 4d8 damage one-handed like this. And it can move up to 10 squares at the 500-foot scale, 50 miles per hour on the ground in a sprint. It'd be as a single move, it'd be 5 squares or 250 feet. You could use the dash action as a rogue if you have it. Otherwise, that's a standard action. To then be able to move again, you'd have normal attacks. While you're in the thing, it would have, I don't know, it's what is it, 48 damage. I keep wanting to give it. Nah, I don't need to worry. I don't need to worry about reroll. I don't need to worry about reload scores until it's bigger than 50 feet. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Pretty simple. So then it would just be a matter of building out various mecha frames. We'll call them Titans. Anything that's large, anything that's size large or bigger outside of the normal scale that your character would have, we'll just call them Titans. More Titans can be of any size. There you go. If I eventually extract all this stuff into my own role-playing game, I'd probably give it a different name, like War Mech or something like that. But War Titans works pretty well for Eberron. So it's your 20-foot scale, and then let's just fuck around a little bit. I just want to fuck around a little bit. 15-foot displacer mecha. That's pretty cool. I like Displacer Beast Robot. I think that's fun. Anything up to 500 feet only needs one pilot. And if the Forged Mind and the Autonomes, that docent can be anywhere. Like it could be like there, or in here in the center of it, wherever. And it can be it can be permanently plugged in, since docents themselves don't need to eat, breathe, and they power down for 4 hours using that mock sleep that the Warforged do. So they have a little downtime that they have to cycle, but otherwise they can be they're pretty self-sufficient and effectively immortal, assuming that their machine parts are upgraded and repaired occasionally. ourselves some mecha-sized Umber Hulk. That'd be fucking cool. Well, this is fun. What are you sitting aside? Is that... Let's pull that in a bit. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 by 7 space. Nice. Do that instead. Pretty boss. Pretty boss. All right. Super cool shit. I'm feeling pretty happy with this so far. So I think that's been a fun little tear. Like this would be a 75 by 75, so it'd be plus extra 70 hit points. It's over. 35 feet. It's 7 by 7, so it's 35 feet. May not have material, so I'll have 10 damage reduction. Has a AC of 18. It's got a +5 to strength and constitution saves. It doesn't get any dexterity bonuses to it at all, including against saving throws. So it's not the most agile creature or machine, but it can tank some decent damage. It's going to do 7d, looks like what are those, like D6, D6, D8, 7d6 or 8. Let's just leave it at 7d6. It'd be bludgeoning or slashing damage. There you go. Special bonus equals confusion. There. Fast, super easy, quick, and easy stats. It's plus 70 hit points because it's plus whatever the pilot has. So something like that is probably going to have second ranked pilot in it. It's going to be like around a veteran or so. So it's like around 50 hit points. So it's probably going to be actually packing like 100. It's probably going to average about 120 hit points on it with the damage reduction of 10. Confusion, eye beams, or eye mesmers. So as a bonus action, it can force a saving throw onto the target. If they fail the wisdom saving throw, then they're confused for a round and acts according to the die. There you go. Very simple, very easy. Yeah, not so bad. And we can use martial powers to layer in stuff for what you can do. The martial power system that we run, I'll be back at lunch tomorrow working through more martial power stuff. Lancer is to 4E. Basically what this is to 5E. Using the martial power system and mecha, you're able to get the same amount of diversity of options into a pilot of a Spelljammer ship as you can for Lancer. Let's see. So when we last left off here, we were working on the stairwell. Did I want to work on that right now? Yes, I do. Let's see. What's the top deck look like? Is there any reason why I wouldn't want to just have that as my default? Thinking things through. Pile deck, landing deck. I kind of like it, the hexagon shape, but I see value in simplicity about the circle. to the underside. Might go with that as a silhouette. Kinda. It wouldn't take much to change it. I do like that. Let's lock that back down. I'm sorely tempted just to keep the shape. Now I'm real tempted. Where you at, buddy? So far, so good. Okay. Yeah. Hold on. Get this straightened out here. There it is. Good. Pretty good. Sometimes it's just easier just to push the pixels and to fuck around with it. Keep that like that for now. Switch it up when we get there. Let's see. Right. I can't ignore that anymore. Okay, this is all panning out. Complicated stuff, man. This drafting, this is difficult drafting for a fill. How are we doing? Thank you. Okay, this is working out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we're actually really good here. Shadow. Yeah, that'll work. Right. Dead 10 feet. Bottom of the arena. Thinking things through. Let's get illustration back here. Servant deck. Then a 10-foot block between the servant deck Wait a second. Where did my battle deck go? Please tell it's nestled. There it is. Cargo deck. This was the servant deck. Servant deck. And then down here it's the housing deck. There we go. So we have the battle deck, which is the absolute lowest. And then we have the landing deck. It has a damselfly on it. And then we have the housing deck, where all the housing is at. Let's just call it the underdeck. Underdeck. And outside we have the cargo deck. Which is the plate between the underdeck and the arena. What is it? Visiting, greeting, reception. Reception deck. Yeah, I think there's a level of elevation. Hold on, I gotta go check that out. I'm pretty sure there's a level of elevation. Ramp up. This is so this is even. The dock leads directly off to the door that leads to the balcony. The balcony is 10 feet up from the ground floor. This is a ramp up. Does it tell me how much it ramps up? Ship, piece of ships. Tower that has its own private dock near the top. Ship like a damselfly. 40-foot tall statues, each one depicting a theme, blah, blah, blah. Why did you do that? It looks like a ramp, but it doesn't lead anywhere. I'm concerned about the scale of things in this. That's a 40-foot statue? Does that make sense? Okay, I guess so. 20 feet. Do tell. 20 feet ramp, huh? Okay. I don't necessarily trust this illustration now. It's like 120 feet up. I mean, it has the space for it. It still fits within a 500-foot space. So, I mean, that's fair. But if that's 40 feet, then that's 40 feet. Not 100% over here. Okay, so 15, 15. Fifteen, 15, 30. 30, 15, that's 60, 15, 15, 10. As much up as down. I'm cool with that. Hmm. 10 feet. So that's 15, if that's 15 feet. That's 15 feet. That's where I'm locking up. Yeah, that makes sense. This whole area is just blackened in, which would be naturally where the actual limbs attach. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah, ramp up. Like that. There we go. Now we're starting to get some sense in here, y'all. That's under storage, servant, admin. There you go. Yeah, so the storage layer is there. Okay, yeah, this is all actually working out. Yeah, this actually works out. Okay, so we have the storage layer. Let's see, we have the underside, which is the underdeck. Battle deck. Landing deck. Underdeck. Cargo deck. Good. Servant deck. And it's at this point at the servant deck that we have the full arena sitting. This is where the arena clicks in. On top of the servant deck. That's where the ramp starts, so that's proper positioning. Like that. Yeah, like that. Let's go to here again. Let's look at this and we'll go like. Where's that coming from? There it is. Where's my stereo? Stereo! Oh, that's convenient. That works out really nicely. Uh-huh. This is working out very nicely. Like that. Not bad. There you go. This is turning out okay, man. This is really turning out okay. Very good. Very good, very good, very good. Very, 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 very good. Yeah, good. Hell yes. This is turning out really, really nicely. I could build into the walls. Like here would be safe. Like that would be storage and amenities. No. For transform. Flip vertical now, baby. All lined up. Cool. Okay, that lines up. Yeah. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, we're doing okay here. Let's This is the kitchen. This is storage and amenities. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Okay. Well, we made some progress today. We'll come back and we'll finish up the arena. This is the balcony layer that leads directly out to the deck of the ships that are boarding. Walks to here, then there's a ramp that goes up. That'll go to the observation level above here, or the reception deck, and his private booth. Throne room, concealed spiral staircase that leads up to the next chamber level. Thinking things through. Yeah, this is coming along. I should have this map finished. I'll have the actual map finished before June. And then we'll build up the scenario. So I should be able to... I don't have to worry about building out the map so much. But we can do a playtest. Like on the 23rd. Yeah. That should jive. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put it on pause here. We've got some mecha that we're working on, and we're working on Vocast's Mega Crab. When I come back in the morning, we're gonna work on more Eberron creature and NPC tokens for the Crystals of Mabar adventure that we're creating. We'll be back at lunch tomorrow to continue working on the Martial Powers project, looking at both the Banneret and the Mastermind. And the Berserker, Banneret, Berserker, and Mastermind. Those are the 3 things that we're working on tomorrow. I'll be out on Saturday because I'm going to play test in the morning, and then I get to play in Curse of Strahd in the evening. Hey Zona, it's good to see you, and thanks for swinging by. Yeah, and then we'll be back on Monday. So I am excited about the Warforged Mecha project. All we gotta do is just basically pick up the craft mechanics, recalibrate the scale for weapons, and then do some illustrations for examples, and then we're set to go. So super simple. Super, super simple. All right, I'll see you guys on the other side. I'll be back in the morning. Laters.